Hey, what's up guys? Node Investor here. Want to give you an update on these markets and make this a little bit more of an educational video. You know, the question right now is this a bear market or is this just a deep correction, and should we be buying and looking for opportunities? And that's a great question. So I'm going to give you some of my thoughts on that, help you answer that, and give you a couple of things to consider when asking that question. So I'm going to look at some examples and kind of give you my thought process and how I approach trades and buys and investments during these market conditions. So first, let's take a quick look at the market. So Bitcoin coming in at $2,514 has been holding up pretty decently here recently. Ethereum had the big break after that ascending or symmetrical triangle really, and right now 238-196, Litecoin 48.89, Monero $45, Ripple 22 cents, just shy of 23, Ethereum Classic following suit with Ethereum 1572, Pivx down to 225, Zcash at 241, Nem at 1545, or excuse me, 15 cents. Not $15, guys, calm down. 15.45 cents. And Lumens just shy of 2 cents there. So let's take a look at Bitcoin charts here. So I want to look at the longer term Bitcoin chart here. So what this is a daily chart of Bitcoin. This is on Coinbase here. And so you can see going down to, let's look at basically the start of the year. So the last big correction that we had was here in this March timeframe. So you can see where we had a pretty decent run up from this low here in the start of the year right up to this March timeframe. This first run up doesn't look like a lot, but it was about 70%. So it was a nice gain from January up until March. And then at that point, we paused for a little bit and went into a little bit of a correction mode, and that went for the most part through the month of March, where it finally bottomed on March 25th and then had a little rally, a pullback, and that was really the start of the big rally that we've seen here recently. That took us all the way to just shy of 3,000 by June 10th or June 11th, however you want to look at that. So let's look at this chart here. So you can see this first run up, right? So I mentioned it's from the start of the year up to this point, took it about 70%. So it was a nice little run up, 65 here. And then the pullback started and it went all the way down to about 30% drop. So pretty decent pullback at that point, very choppy. How does that compare to what we've seen now? And if you look at that, right, we had a pullback before that. That was just, let me see here, that was about 35% as well. So since this top, we had an extreme low of 31%, have since been bouncing. Right now, we're only down 15-16%. That sounds like a lot, but it really isn't when you're talking cryptocurrency. 15% is basically a correction. Now I know that wasn't the low. The low was pretty sharp, and it was a matter of days really from the top to the low. And since then, we've kind of just been bouncing around. So let's zoom in a little bit here. I was talking about this little triangle we were putting in here. This also corresponds with the 50-day moving average, which right now is just catching up and sitting right below these last 3 days. So we haven't even broken the 50-day moving average. The shorter term moving averages have not yet crossed below one another, meaning they haven't turned to bearish yet. We're really close or really tightening up, because at this point you have the 10 EMA, the 30 EMA, and the 50-day all sitting really tight, but they haven't crossed. So some people are saying this is a bear market. When you look at the Bitcoin chart, it's a correction. It's not a bear market. Now, you look at other altcoins, absolutely it's a bear market. Some of altcoins have taken massive hits and are down 60, 70, 80%. I mean, some of them are just down big. So it certainly has been a bear market for some areas. All around has not yet, especially when you look at some of the leaders. All right, so Ethereum has really been the one taking the biggest hit and is certainly driving the altcoin market down. But in terms of, can we call it a bear market? Not yet. We're certainly in a correction mode. There's no doubt about that. But I wouldn't say it's a bear market. I mean, that's going to, when you say bear market, you're going to talk about Bitcoin's going to drop 40, 50%, and other altcoins are going to take it even worse. And then we're going to be in this downtrend to flattening correction for months and months. That's a bear market. This is a 1 month correction so far. Now that can change, but it's not there yet, guys. So that's just what I'm looking at. Now let's jump over to Ethereum. So if we look at Ethereum, we were building up to this little wedge here. And I remember I mentioned to you guys, this was a juncture here, right? Volume was really tightening down. The RSI was quieting up here. And look at the last few days. It was just really tight. A major move was imminent, up or down. And sure enough, we saw the big drop to the downside. That led to other selling in some of the altcoins, some big drops, some big supports. Levels were broken in some of them, and we'll go into those here in a minute. But so, you know, we dropped below this, and Ethereum certainly has been in this declining trend, and that's looking like it's going to continue. And that's just where we're at right now. Now, if we look at some retracement levels, how far could it go? Let's take a look at that. So right now, we broke below this. If we don't turn around real quick and head back up, then this is going to be more than just a quick shakeout. This is just going to be another leg down, and we'll certainly undercut these lows if that's the case. So the next level of support, just looking at the chart, is back in this late May congestion that happened here. That was really the last real big level of support where we had this big undercut, massive volume came in. That's huge support. Then we kind of built this little short cut base that just kind of let off. We had this little pennant up here, which that's definitely a little base there, and we've kind of been at that level now. If we do some Fibonacci retracement on this, let's see how far down that takes us. So we can say let's just do the entire move, and that's saying basically from, you know, this pop down from $11 all the way up to the $400 move that we've seen. So keep that in mind. It has been a massive move, and a correction is certainly due. So if we look at the Fibonacci levels, let me pull this back a little bit just so we can zoom in a little bit and still see the Fibonacci numbers, but I'm going to keep it at the same low point. So if we zoom in a little bit here, and if you're not familiar with Fibonacci, there's some key ratios that historically have been points of support on the retracement and points of resistance on a bounce. So it depends on how you look at the numbers. But if we look at the entire move down, the first level is this 50% that we've held, right? So we had that little double bottom, which we're basically right at that 50%, and then we started to bounce and we're heading down. Doesn't look like this triangle is going to hold, so we could touch that prior low that we saw here, which would be basically the low 200s, hit that 50% mark again, and then bounce. We're going to really want to see this downtrend broken before we can say that's a confirmation. But if it doesn't bounce, the next level down is this 61.8% retracement. That puts you at about $165 on Ethereum. That also correlates with this back base right here. So certainly possible. It could come in there or somewhere in between, but that would be the next level to look at. If we have a sharp correction and we break these lows, most likely we're going to come back down to this level. Now 61.8 is a very key ratio on the Fibonacci levels, and very often that's where things bottom. That's a very deep correction. It's certainly possible now that we've broken a lot of these moving averages. They're starting to roll over. The trend is still on the downside. And so if Ethereum breaks down and goes another leg to the 160, 170 level, that will certainly impact the other altcoins. We'll see sell-offs in even the leaders, just because Ethereum, you know, whether you agree or not, Ethereum is a leader in this market. Ethereum and Bitcoin are going to drive a lot of the price action in some of the other altcoins. So they're going to move in tandem. So that's what I'm looking at as a potential low point for Ethereum if this doesn't hold. So I'm still thinking this is a little bit of a shakeout and we're going to start to bounce. But who knows? I mean, the question remains, right? Is this a bear market or not? And the first thing you look at is what's the trend, right? So if you've taken my technical analysis course, I have this process that I look at when analyzing the charts. So let me jump to that. So the first question is, what is the general trend? And there are only three trends in markets. There's uptrends, there's downtrends, and then there's just sideways markets that are just chopping and going sideways. And so right now we are in a downtrend, right? We've been in a downtrend since June started, and prior to that we were in an uptrend since about February, March. So the trend has certainly changed. The next question is, where is the most recent top or the most recent bottom, right? And we look at that to see where did the trend change and what are some potential extreme lows or highs. Well, we've already looked at that. How far are we relative to that? So let's go see what percent down we've come. And Fibonacci is another way to look at that. Are we forming a new trend? No, not yet. We're still in a downtrend. Where are the support and resistance zones? And so we've looked at that. And do we see a pattern? So when you're in a downtrend, you're looking for a bottoming pattern. And some of the patterns I talk about are double bottoms. You look for a flat base. You look for a V-shaped bounce off of a key Fibonacci ratio. Inverted head and shoulders is a very powerful bottoming pattern. So that's what you're going to be looking for now that we're in this shorter downtrend. And then you cross-check that with other indicators, right? What is the RSI saying? What is Fibonacci saying? Has the MACD turned? Is the histogram on the MACD turning up yet? So that's how you cross-check it with other indicators. So with that in mind, let's go back to the charts. So are we in what's the trend? Well, we had been in this nice uptrend for months, and yeah, we had bases and nice flat breakout points along the way and just kept going up until this June 12th point. And since then, it's just been down, 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 down with some sharp pullbacks and bounces along the way. But generally speaking, the trend is down. The last top was up here. Where was the most recent low? Well, right now we're in this middle zone. So the most recent low was this low 200 point on Ethereum. And that's where the support is right now. That's the most major key support we have to look at now that we've broken below this trend, now that we've broken below the longer term moving averages. So that's support. Where's resistance? Well, resistance is this downtrend we're forming, and soon it's going to become this 10 EMA moving average. We're going to start bouncing into that until we break above it. And so how low could we go? Well, that's the first level you're looking at is at 200. The next level is this key Fibonacci ratio also coinciding with this base. So right around 160, maybe 150. And that's how you do it. So that's how you look at that. What I'm going to be looking for is a trend reversal, potentially a bottoming pattern. What patterns are forming that may happen here? Well, you could form a longer term double bottom. You could come up here, bounce, come on down again, hit another low point to coincide with this bottom, and then bounce again, and potentially could be forming a double bottom. So that's really what I'm looking for right now. If you look at some of the other altcoins, let's just kind of cycle through them, a couple of them. You can see that the trend is the same for a lot of these. So let's look at some of the ones that got hit hard. Obviously, Digibyte, right? Digibyte's been in this major downtrend for pretty much June. Look at Factum versus Bitcoin. Not too bad, but still recently in a little bit of a downtrend. Let's look at Golem. Was in an uptrend, holding up pretty good until about a week and a half ago. Now it's definitely in a little bit of a downtrend here. If you look at Litecoin, right? Litecoin's one of the few that's breaking the mold here. So Litecoin has been in an uptrend in spite of all of this. So that's something that should be on your watch list, right? That's a leader. That's something that's holding up. Dash is doing the same thing, right? So Dash has been in an uptrend through this. Yeah, it's been a little shaky here, and that's a lot of market action, but so far has kind of been bucking the trend. If you look at Stratus, right? We talked Stratus here, was in a downtrend for a long time, hit this multiple bottom, and was really at a juncture. I said, if this breaks, it's going to be a big leg down, and sure enough, that's what's happened. Stratus broke support, and when you see that happen, right, we had a big sharp move down, 23% in no time. Bounced a little bit, but still heading down. Next level of support on Stratus was really all the way down here, so kind of in a little kind of middle zone right here. There's really nothing to do on Stratus. Let's see how it acts as it approaches this, or if it could bounce here. Another one, right? Let's look at NEM. NEM has been in a downtrend for a long time. at this point with Stratus, where we're hitting this bottom again, multiple times, this one hasn't broke though. So this one's been holding up so far. So still one to keep an eye out for to see if it reverses here. Monero, right? Let's go to Monero. Monero has kind of been in a sideways trend versus Bitcoin, so kind of a holding up. But this is on the Bitcoin chart, or no, I'm sorry, this is the USD chart. This is not versus Bitcoin, so this has actually been outperforming. So not bad, right? Monero has been holding up so far, but definitely very choppy action, sideways choppy action. Zcash was in a very nice strong uptrend until about June 21st, and then since has been in a downtrend. So that's the general trend for Zcash. And so that's how we look at these. And so there's two ways to approach this, right? So if you're looking to make some investments or looking for potential entry points, what you want to be looking for are these bottoming action on some of these bases, looking for a potential bottom base, a double bottom, inverted head and shoulders, a bounce off of a support level. That's what you look for. And there's really two ways to look at that. You can buy value, meaning, hey, this is a good longer term play. It's pulled in a little bit, I'm gonna buy it, right? So that's one way to approach it. An example of that would be NEM. So if you're a believer in the NEM project and you like it and you're thinking, hey, this has long-term potential, then this might be a good value play right now because it's come down so far. And if this is the bottom on NEM, then this is a great place to pick it up, right? But if it breaks this support level, then we're gonna have another leg down to this 3,500 Satoshi level. So that's just how you approach it. Now, I like to buy on signals. So even if this is a value play, I'm going to wait until we have a confirmation that this is a double bottom. We start seeing volume come in on the upside. I'd rather pay 10-15% higher with confidence, knowing that, hey, we've reached a good bottom and it's on the upway, than to kind of just guess and hope it doesn't break the support. That's just me, but that's a way to play value. Another way is to play strength. So when you see everything pulling in, what's moving up, right? What's holding up the best, or just kind of sitting tight as the market corrects? Because what happens is when the market stops correcting and things start turning up, those are the ones that have the stronger move out first. We've already looked at it. One example is Litecoin, right? So Litecoin has been bucking the trend a little bit here. So that's one that I'm looking at as far as a strength play, right? If you want to buy strength and not so much value, then you're buying Litecoin because Litecoin is holding up the best and it's clearly where the strength is right now. And so that's how you look at those. And that's really how I play it. My preference is to buy strength. I like to buy the leaders. I like to buy what's strong. I look for bases after a move up, a little base, and then a breakout, and I buy the breakouts. Typically, that's more of a successful strategy because they move faster at that point. There's strength and there's momentum behind the move. But buying value, buying off of a bounce on a low is certainly something I do as well. One example is Ant shares, right? We looked at Ant shares when it hit that good low, buying off that bottom. I took a little bit of Ant shares at that point, right? So I do a little bit of both, but my preference is certainly buying strength, especially when this market is as shaky and vulnerable as it is right now, because if you're buying on something that's already been in a downtrend, if the market gets hit again, they accelerate further to the downside. The leaders, they also come in like Litecoin, but they tend to hold, right? They tend to hold these key moving averages, these key support levels. For example, Litecoin bounced, pulled in, held the breakout point, hit the moving average again, has bounced again, and I mean, look at where it's at right now. It's literally 10-12% off the all-time high. So it hasn't come in that much. So that's why I prefer to buy something that's stronger. So a couple more. If you look at Sia Coin, right? Sia Coin recently broke some support levels, still on the way down. Doesn't look like it wants to hold here, so the next level might be these old support levels down again, which also coincide with the key Fibonacci ratio. So that might be the place to look at Sia Coin. Let's look at Steam. Steam's not too bad. It's definitely in a little bit of a downtrend here recently, but not as steep as some of the others. Underperforming Bitcoin a little bit, but not too bad. Volume is quieted up a little bit. If you look at the RSI here, the RSI is just basically right at the 40 mark, which is typically where things bottom if they're going to remain in a bull mode. And so that's one that's not too bad. So that's how I look at it. Just giving you guys some thoughts. Here's Stellar. still in a downtrend. Let's look at Ripple. If you look at Ripple on the dollar, has just been going sideways, right? I mean, a little bit on the lower end here, but we've never really broken the support level that we've been holding since, you know, this May timeframe. So May, June, Ripple is still not, in my opinion, buyable because there's really no signal here, but you know, it's on my watch list. It's something that's holding up, hasn't really broken down as deeply as some of the others. So it just says that Ripple's stronger right here. But you know, if this support level breaks, then that's going to be a bad sign for Ripple. We can come down another leg. So right now that hasn't happened, so it's still on the watch list. So I hope that helps, guys. Look out for these bases. I just wanted to give you that market update and really just use this as an example for more of an educational type of video. Give you a little bit of my thought process, how I look at these markets. I'm still holding several key coins right now. Now, as we get closer to the August 1st date, you know, some of that's going to start to be a factor in here. Other folks may begin to prepare for that. You might see more volatility, people selling, people buying. So I'll give you some more updates throughout this week. We'll see how the market plays out. See if we can start to rally here. Till next time, take care, guys.